What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got another quick hit scouting report video for you today. This is my second one. I may do another one sometime tonight, but we'll see. I at least wanted to get a couple of them out to you. I did one earlier today. This one is going to be on two teams because the game that I watched and am covering had both of the teams that played in it we play later on down the season. So this was a matchup between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, we see Tennessee at Tennessee in Week 17, and Indianapolis is the team that we are getting ready to play this week at Hard Rock Stadium. And look, I don't want to say a lot about the Colts because, obviously I still have to do my preview video probably on Friday as I usually do. But I do believe this game is probably going to be a bit harder than what people think. And there's definitely a possibility that, especially with the struggles the Dolphins have been having with play calling, with coaching, with the offensive line, etc., that we could lose this game. I have said that since before the preseason that this was a game that we were going to win. But, up to this point, I think I'm leaning a little bit the other way right now. And they got to prove it to me, man, because especially with Tua being out, Raekwon Davis is still going to be out for this game. So, it's going to be a tough matchup. And look, let's keep it real. The Colts, yes, they're 0-3, but they played Seattle in Week 1. They played the Rams in Week 2, and then the Tennessee Titans in Week 3. So it's not like they played bad teams. And in fact, they actually kept every single one of those teams under 30 points. So even considering, how good a lot of those offenses are. So, they didn't do a bad job, and they certainly did keep themselves competitive, but ultimately came out with the loss. So, and they're going to obviously look to get their first win this week. As far as the Tennessee Titans go, I've had that as, unfortunately, a loss this entire time on the schedule. Because I don't think we're going to have an answer for Derrick Henry, and I just think that they're overall the better team. But let's go ahead and take a look at this, get a little bit deeper into it. So obviously the Colts are 0-3 as of right now. Tennessee is now 2-1 after their win. They won by a margin of 25-16. And as you will see, once we start getting into the more specifics, so Tennessee had 368 total yards. Indy had 265. Tennessee had 188 through the air and 175 for the Colts. Tennessee had $180 on the ground, which, again, they got Derrick Henry, so not surprising there. Indy only had 87. Tennessee was 5.7 yards per play, 4.6 for the Colts. Obviously, we know the score. Tennessee gave up one fumble. Indy didn't, and Tennessee threw 2 interceptions. Indy didn't throw any. And even with that, the Tennessee Titans still came out on top. Indy gave up 2 sacks. Tennessee gave up 1. The Colts had the ball for the Colts converted 25% of their third downs. Tennessee converted 50. The Colts had the ball for 25-54. Tennessee had it for 34-06. And both teams had 4 penalties. Okay, so let's get a little further. As we can see, Ryan Tannehill was 18 for 27. Had an, okay day. Obviously, the 2 interceptions weren't bad. But just an okay day. Obviously, but that's the thing, though, is Tannehill, operates well in that system because they have a good offensive line. They have a running game with that power running back in Derrick Henry, the big bruising guy that wears defenses down. And then they have a good defense, right? So overall, he doesn't have to be an elite superstar, fucking Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers type of quarterback. And if you build a team properly, it just goes to show you that you don't have to have the best of the best, the elite, to, win, right? And so, they're expected to win the division and maybe even make it, into a couple rounds into the playoffs, right? So we'll see. But anyway, 197, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Derrick Henry had 28 rushes, 113 yards, and a 4 average. Ryan Tannehill, though, as you can see, added 5 rushes for 56 yards and 11.2 average himself. So he threw in a little bit there on the ground as well, because as we know, he can use his legs and quite effectively. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, I'm guessing is how you say that. 4 of 4 for 53 and a touchdown. Julio Jones, 3 of 4, 47. Derrick Henry, 3 of 3, 31. Goff Swain, 3 of 4 for 27. Cameron Batson, 1 for 13. Jeremy McNichols, 1 of 2 for 10 and a touchdown. And then, of course, as I usually do, let's move down here so you can take a look. But yeah, man, both of these teams I think are going to be, you know, tough to play against, and there's so many unfortunately there's so many question marks and concerns with this Dolphins team, you know, up to and including the coaching and the play calling and all that stuff, and unfortunately I just don't have a lot of faith in them right now, particularly on offense. And as, you know, much as the defense has been keeping us in some of these games so far, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to hold it up throughout the entire season. So, you know, or even in these games if they have to remain on the field for pretty much the entirety of it. So, anyway, Carson Wentz was only 19 for 37 and a $194 with no touchdowns, but also no interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, and he's going to have to be somebody that we really look out for in this game. But again, I'll get to that in my preview, was 10 rushes for 64 yards and a 6.4. Nyheim Hines threw in 6 for 25 and a touchdown with a 4.2. Let's see. Michael Pittman was 6 of 12 for 68. Nyheim Hines, 5 of 6, 54. Zach Pascal, 2 of 7 for 31. Mo Alley Cox, 2 of 2 for 14. And Jack Doyle, 1 of 2 for 10. Yeah, man. I mean, these teams I think are both going to be good. And like I said, I think that people are looking at the Colts right now with an 0-3 start and, you know, are down on them. And I get that, right? You obviously don't want to start 0-3, and there's definitely going to be some opportunity for this Dolphins team against the Colts, and it's a game that they can win, maybe even to some degree should win. But it's definitely a game that they gotta win, because we do not want to end up 1-3 going into the Tampa game, which could end up having us 1-4 going into Jacksonville. So that's a terrible place to be. So hopefully they can get it. But I think people are you know, because again, they played really good teams: Seattle, then the Rams, and then you know, the Titans. So. But anyway, let's take a deeper dive and look at the current league standings. So right now, the Tennessee Titans are 15th in total yards and yards per game with 1,148 total and 382.7 per game. Right now, the Colts are listed as 21st in the league in total yards and yards per game with 955 and 318.3 respectively. The Titans have 762 total yards and 254 per game, total passing yards, excuse me, and 254 per game, which has them at 19th. The Colts have 717 total passing with 239 per game, which has them at 23rd. Total rushing, the Tennessee Titans have 478 and a $159.3 per game, which has them 3rd in the league. Obviously, that's going to be a tough stop. The Colts are at 309 total and 103 per game, which has them at 19th. Total points, the Tennessee Titans have 71 and are at 23.7 per game, which has them at 15th. The Colts are at 56 total and 18.7 per game, which has them at 24th. So, you know, there's going to be, like I said, man, there's going to be some opportunities. Obviously, the Tennessee is the better team, just clearly across the board out of these two, but they're both going to be tough games. So defensively, Tennessee is giving up 359.3 per game, which is 15th in the league. The Colts are right behind them, though, at 373.3, which is 18th. Passing yards per game, the Tennessee Titans are giving up 275.3, which is 19th. The Colts, though, are 11th with 243. And this is part of what I'm saying, man. They're considering the teams that they played against, and especially when you look at, like, their takeaways, where they are in takeaways and interceptions and fumbles, like, they're getting turnovers, this Colts team. So, you know, it's like I said, man, it's gonna be a tough sledding this upcoming Sunday. Rushing yards. But maybe, look, you know, so, you know, Tennessee Titans are letting up 100 per game, which is 12th. But, you know, at 140.3, the Colts are giving up are at 140.3 per game. The Colts are 28th, and so there may be an opportunity for us to maybe utilize the run game a little bit more, especially since our running backs have been averaging roughly 5 yards per carry. But of course, you know, part of the coaching problem with this Dolphins team is that they haven't commit to it. And anytime they have success with anything, whether it's the running game or Gesicki, they just tend to go away from it, which is ridiculous and silly. Points per game given up, the Tennessee Titans are giving 28, which is 25th. 26.7 for the Colts, which is 22nd. In takeaways, Titans haven't really produced any takeaways, really. They only have one on the year, which has them at 29th. Now, again, to be fair, a lot of these, there's a lot of bunching of teams for these, these takeaway statistics still. But right now, they're currently on the list at 29th. The Colts are fifth in the league, though, with 6 total. Interceptions, the Titans only have 1, which is 22nd. The Colts have 3, which is 10th. Fumbles, none for the Titans, which is 26th, and 3 for the Colts, which is 3rd. 7 sacks for the Titans, 15th in the league. 5 sacks for the Colts, 25th. Passes defense, there are 10 for the Titans, which is 22nd, and 9 for the Colts, which is 25th. And then, of course, as always, here's a quick look at the Dolphins league standings for their offense and for their defense, so you can do a little bit of comparative analysis and see where there might be potentially some opportunities where we can take advantage to hopefully get that win. So there you go. There you have it. That is my next install of my quick hit scouting report video for week 3. This one is for the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts as they played each other, and we play both of those teams later on the year. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.